Welcome to the Hop Edition podcast, brought to you in association with the Malt Miller, your go-to choice for premium homebrewing ingredients and equipment. Whether you're a beginner starting out or an experienced brewer, the Malt Miller has got you covered. So for top quality products and customer service, jump over to themaltmiller.co.uk and tell them the Hop Edition sent you. We would also like to thank all our Patreons for their continued support with running and developing the pod. If you would like to become a member and gain access to exclusive perks and benefits, head over to patreon.com/the Hop Edition. Now it's time to get this pod started, so crack open a homebrew and enjoy the episode.
Howdy, it is episode 136. We are doing the Commonwealth beers tonight. It's a BJCP drink along. So welcome back to the Hop Edition podcast, where we obsess over the science, the art and the occasional madness of homebrewing. Yes, so today we're exploring section 12 of the BJCP guidelines, which is called Pale Commonwealth beer, which encompasses three styles, which are the British Golden Ale, an Australian Sparkling Ale, and an English IPA. We'll be drinking some examples of each style, discussing the guidelines, rating the beers, and hopefully coming up with some tips on how to brew some excellent examples of each style yourself. Now, before we get started, let's thank our partner sponsor, the Malt Miller, the premier supplier of all things homebrew. For all your homebrewing needs, check out themaltmiller.co.uk. And while you are there, don't forget to check out our dedicated Hop Edition recipe section, where you can find some absolute amazing range of beers that we have featured on the pod, or some of our own creations as well, and some absolute stunners from our guests. So yeah, how we all doing, guys? Are we good?
Ready for some beers?
Ready for
some beers.
Have
What
you
are we all
tried?
drinking?
On the first one tonight.
Yeah, I'm
on the
having
Exmoor.
a little warm up beer.
What's your warm-up beer?
I'd forgotten all about the fact that Rob sent us 2 smoked beers, and I found the second one at the back of the fridge, and I was like,
Owen is literally cremating his palate before he
destroying
does
his
the
palate.
BJCP
totally
tasting.
destroying my palate well before getting into some other
Love
beers.
it. If
but
you're going to
no, I'll be fine.
do it
I'll be
properly
fine.
with a
Absolute
fucking
nutter.
balls
I'm doing
out
it for
smoked beer.
science.
Oh, that
Nice.
beer. Do you know what? I felt like, see, the next day, I felt I woke up and had smoked cigars all night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
I felt
like,
like I was sweating out smokiness.
yeah.
the next day.
Yeah, fair point. I don't think I've ever had like a session on smoked beers. You know,
No.
I've had
Oh yeah,
one.
that was 100% like the most smoked beer I've ever drunk in one sitting, and it definitely had some
But even-
interesting effects the following day.
Yeah, even that, it was like, we finished on Rob's beer, didn't we? On the pod anyway, before we went to the afters.
Did we? I thought we finished on your. Oh no!
Oh, did we?
No, we drank your Siren
Dream?
Broken Dream
Yeah.
clone. Did we drink that on the afters, or we drank that at the end of the pod?
Can't
Maybe it was
remember.
afters. I think it was afters, because I remember drinking your porter instead, Owen. I think that was the afters.
Okay.
But,
Fair dues. It's
Yeah.
not. It wasn't dissimilar to the podcast that we did prior to that, with Fine Ales, where we were
Right.
just drinking mixed firm beers.
all
a
night.
session on mixed firm. And it kind of got to the end of the night. I was just craving like a nice, clean, crispy lager by the end of it.
yeah.
Amazing beers, but for me, just not something I'm going to sit down and drink like 4 or 5
All of
in a
them.
row.
Yeah, I like...
Not in that sort of time frame either, right? Like
No.
trying to pound through them in like a 2-hour podcast. Like this is supposed to be like a sitting and savouring it kind of beer, where you're gonna,
It's a sipper.
sip it rather than just go, I've got to get this one down so I can move on to the next one. So
For sure.
yeah, luckily they
Yeah.
were like relatively drinkable as far as mixed firm beers. Otherwise, I think we'd have been really struggling if they were
Yeah, they're very
I think
drinkable.
a bit more full
That
on.
was Dan's style, wasn't it?
Some of them were more drinkable than others. I think I remember there kind of being one of them which was quite challenging. But otherwise, they were actually quite drinkable, so we shouldn't complain. So where are we starting tonight then, guys?
Exmoor. So we've got 3 beers, isn't it? So we've got the Exmoor Gold, which is our golden ale. Then we've got the Cooper's Sparkling Ale, which
I'm quite looking forward to that.
I know.
Actually.
So am
Quite
I.
interested in this one.
Yeah, just because it's
drank quite a lot of the pale ale from Cooper's when I was, doing the gap year. Back in the day. Gap year.
Same here.
But that was a long time ago, but I never really drank any of that one. And then there's the third one. Flagship.
Yeah, the flagship.
Yeah, I think the pale ale was actually quite difficult to come by over here.
Yeah.
But if you are anywhere sort of in the southern part of Australia, it's because they're an Adelaide-based brewery. Yeah. So if you're down kind of Victoria way, then it's pretty much the go-to.
Seem to have a bit of a cult following in certain areas of the country. That one definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, and there's some weird drinking with it where we found that you do, you roll the beer or something to get the yeast in. So it's almost
roll.
like the Cooper's roll. So it's almost like you would do with a Hefe. So
yeah,
that'll be fun. Something to look forward to.
Yeah,
something to look forward to tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I had a kebab for dinner as well. So I'm
definitely having a good clear out tomorrow.
Oh boy, yeah. It's gonna be like
baby.
Liquid.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
It's just dawning on him.
So we're obviously doing a BJCP drink along type structure tonight. So we're gonna go through the kind of BJCP guidelines, have a little chat about the beers themselves. The Exmoor Gold and the Coopers are both exemplars for their style. Quite difficult to come across English IPAs nowadays, commercially, or like actual, authentic English IPAs. There's plenty of beers that are labelled as IPA, which are, nowhere near the actual style guidelines. So, some quite horrific examples, in fact. And but yeah, we didn't look like there was any of the exemplars available for that one. But I think this was what looked closest to a sort of traditional, and it was brewed for the 200th anniversary of Trafalgar, was it, or something?
Oh yeah.
Originally brewed for the because I was going to say that
Admiral. Yes,
that 200th anniversary would have been like over 20 years ago now, wouldn't it? But originally brewed for that. So you'd like to think they're probably going for a slightly more traditional kind of English IPA approach on that one.
Okay, proper India Pale Ale.
Yeah. So anyway, so we'll do that, taste the beers, and we're also going to have a little bit of a look at sort of like how you might go about brewing the different styles as well, or different interpretations of the style, because some of these might, with the exception of the Coopers, because I think quite unusually for the Coopers one, it's basically like the only beer that represents that style now. I mean, I think historically there were more of them, but I was looking at the guidelines thinking it's quite unusual where there's basically just one beer that whole style is based around it.
That's pretty mad, isn't it?
I can't think of any others that, off the top of my head that are like that, but but otherwise, like with the other two styles, then there's various different ways to approach it, whether it's a slightly more modern take on it or whatever. Speaking of which, with the golden ale, some people would say it's quite a modern style, but actually, as we'll talk about in a minute, the first versions of that were kind of coming out in the mid-80s, which is now getting on a little bit, time-wise. So I think you could say there's more modern versions of the golden ale for sure. But anyway, so Exmoor Gold. We'll talk a bit about the guidelines for this first. Where are we at? Owen, tell us a little bit about British Golden Ale. What are we expecting?
British Golden Ale. Let's have a look. So some are just the really high level specs based on the guidelines. So we're anticipating an ABV, which is quite wide in range, from 3.8% up to 5%. So it's really kind of that session strength through to.
Well, this is 5. The one we've got is right up to the top.
Yeah, it is. You're right. The
That's
IBUs.
surprising, actually. I would have thought it would be a bit less than that because it's definitely a cask beer as well. But anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll talk a bit more about Exmoor and the brewery in a sec because I think they are Somerset based. But the IBUs are going to be ranging from 20 to 45, assumably scaling relative to the ABV. But in theory, that's probably going to be coming across as a relatively bitter style. There's going to be some bitterness in the beer. And then the colour is relatively low. So you've got a colour range on SRM from 2 to 6. So that's probably pretty equivalent to the EBC range.
Golden in the name, golden in the colour.
Yeah. AI gave me this, and SRM is... Let's just convert that to EBC because, we're British and all that.
Double? Did you just double it?
Yeah, you just pretty much double it. So it would be...
So 4 to 12?
4 to 12. Yeah. So pretty pale in colour. So, yeah, British Golden Ale. So we're drinking Exmoor Gold. The history behind British Golden Ale is it's actually a relatively modern style. Developed in around the 1980s to compete with pale lagers at the time.
Yep.
So they were kind of at that point sort of losing the lager war as sort of the traditional British ales were starting to get edged out.
Bitters and milds and all that sort of thing was probably king at the time. Well, before, and then that's obviously lagers came in. So that maybe that's why it's went trying to go more lager, but still keeping it ale.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's kind of almost like what can we create that's going to almost compete with these lagers, without having to tool up to make lager effectively. Exmoor Gold, which was first brewed in 1986.
So this is one of the very first ones, isn't it? Because the sort of Summer Lightning is always mentioned as one of the very first, but I think that's sort of 85, 86 as well. So
yeah, Hotback Summer Lightning. Also, Moreland Old Gold Hen. I've not had that before. In fact, this is the first time I've had Exmoor Gold as well. So I'm looking forward to giving that a go. So we back to the sort of colour. The appearance is going to be, you'd expect an excellent clarity of bright beer, of which this certainly is. A straw to kind of gold colour. I reckon this is probably more on the gold side. It's probably the slightly darker side.
Yeah,
got a bit of a honey colour to it, I would say.
Yeah.
But relative to the fact that it's 5%, obviously a bit more malt going in.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a hop forward style of beer. Probably again trying to compete with those perhaps slightly more hop forward, typically German lagers that were appearing in the 80s. But unlike your traditional bitter, it's going to have less of that caramel malt flavour. So it should be much more like a lager in the sense of being bready, crackery, biscuity, honey, that kind of thing. Obviously, with it being a British style, using traditional English hops, so you're going to be varying from that kind of earthy, floral, maybe into a little bit of citrus. You might find some examples using American varieties, perhaps the more traditional kind of Cascade, Centennial, etc.
Styrian Goldens maybe is in this. I'm gonna go look it up, but it's got it's good.
Well, we'll dive into it in a minute because there's definitely a lot to unpackage on the aroma.
Challenger Goldens and Fuggles.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, if assuming the
Styrian
recipe hasn't
Goldens
changed much since they first brewed it, you wouldn't necessarily expect American hops or anything like that in
3 quintessential English
something
hop.
from that far back, right? It's interesting talking about the, sort of these kind of beers being a little bit of an answer to kind of lagers and things like that. But tasting this, I'm kind of thinking like it tastes kind of like a Hell's
does.
with an ale yeast, like
Yeah.
really herbal,
Yeah.
kind of like hop character to it.
It's
Loads
got
of
like a
honey.
Sweet honey malt kind of, and the malt character in particular is like really
The
reminiscent
aroma.
of a Hell's lager to me.
It's wild, isn't it? Like I'm getting that like Hersbrucker meadow vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
Like
if
100%.
if I didn't know what it was, I'd be almost thinking like, there's Hallertau in this. There's got to be some Hallertau in there.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah,
again,
it's-
the honey note that can be a bit
Malt.
indicative of Goldings as well. I think Goldings can
okay.
give you a little bit, steer the malt flavour as well a bit towards honey sometimes. So
But I think I also think a lot of what you're getting through is a yeast contribution. I think there's quite a lot of I don't know what yeast they use, but I think it's presenting a lot of the yeast esters, rounding out that hoppiness to give you that kind of meadow vibe. That's what I think that is.
yeah,
Either that or they've gotten very good at blending those three English hops to present a lot like German noble hops. But anyway, I'm going to dive in. So I guess what we're kind of seeing here is a bit of a bridge between your kind of classic English bitter and a lager and a pale ale.
I could do a few of them, by the way.
it's really nice. I like this.
Ah,
I have had this on cast, by the way, when I've been down in Devon,
yeah.
staying with a friend. Obviously, the Exmoor beers you tend to see in the pubs down there, and yeah, it was a nice beer then. I don't remember enjoying it quite as much as I am this, but I feel like it's not 5% when it's in cask as well. I might be wrong, but I've got a feeling it's probably a little bit lower ABV, which is not uncommon, to be fair.
It's on the book.
Surprised me. Oh, it's in the book, is it? Which book's
Yeah.
that? Brewing
Mark
British,
just said it's
British
British.
Ale.
Of course.
Graham
Uh,
Wheeler.
yeah, pale malt. Then it's got Challenger in the boil. Then it's got Goldens. Last 10 minutes Goldens. Then post boil hops, Styrian Goldens. At the end.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's like a kind of hopped like whirlpool type, but it's. I mean, what we're talking: 47 grams in a 23-litre batch of Challenger, 16 grams of Goldens at 10, and then some Irish moss. It says then 9 grams of Styrian Golden in your whirlpool type.
9
hop
grams.
stand.
Oof.
Yeah. Wow.
Big guns.
Yep.
I mean, I think on the flavour of the beer, the taste of the beer, definitely presents much more like an English style than it does on the nose. So the kind of aroma's a little bit beguiling. It kind of gives you it definitely gives you an impression of a German Helles.
Yeah.
But on the flavour is like, it's quite undeniably English hops in there. Very quite earthy.
You get an earthy? I just get just honey and sweet.
Probably
Yeah.
more bitter than a Helles for sure. Maybe up there with the bitterness of a German Pils.
I'm not sure I'd go that high.
Yeah, it's
But-
not. It's in between, isn't it?
I feel, yeah, to me, I feel like it's got, I think coming back to you saying the yeast character, I feel like it's kind of got that estery English ale vibe kind of mixed in with a lot of kind of Hellas like character with the malt. But I mean, if that clone recipe is anywhere near accurate, and it's literally just
nice.
pale malt. I'm
40 IBUs.
Well, it
quite
says-
surprised.
It says on
It's
the back
40 IBU.
it is a single malt ale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's described
so it's
as
got a good colour on it,
juicy-
hasn't it, for a single malt?
a juicy malt aroma with a hint of vanilla and citric hops.
Vanilla. Don't know about
Well, I
that.
think I don't know whether
Anyone get that?
fat vanilla impressions coming off the yeast esters. I don't know whether I'd describe that more as like meadow, really.
Just get
floral
pure German Helles.
than vanilla, but you can kind of get the impression of vanilla.
I think there is a bit more of that sort of on the flavour. There's a little bit more of that hedgerow hop kind of flavour does come through. You do get a little bit more of that kind of green, grassy, little bit of subtle sort of hedgerow fruit there, maybe.
A little bit woody, a little bit earthy.
Yeah.
Probably coming from the Fuggles.
Yeah, I would think so. How do we think this matches up to the style guidelines? Because it's there as an exemplar, but I think obviously also bearing in mind this is a like almost the earliest interpretation of style. What do you think?
Straight gold, Hopford. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, clarity, appearance, yeah, all good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Do you think it's hop forward? Enough?
On the nose, yeah.
I think in a way that really helps to emphasise the malt in the same way as a really great lager would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then it is actually quite hop forward, but just not in a way that you might typically understand hop forward.
Yes.
Especially
Yeah.
in
That's
this
a good
day and
I
point.
age.
think traditional hop forward prior to the American craft beer boom, yeah.
What's interesting is the guidelines suggest that there should be little to no malt aroma,
Oh, but there's loads of honey.
and you're like, yeah, there's bags of malt aroma coming off of that.
Yeah,
Like,
Which is interesting. It also suggests that there should be a medium low to low fruity aroma from the hops rather than the esters. Okay.
I think
really
judging
sure
wise,
how you would interpret the difference between that easily.
I think judges could potentially sort of pick that honey note out and be like, ooh, a bit too much caramel type aroma or flavour on it as well. And not that I think that that's a bad thing at all in this beer, but knowing how BJCP judging works quite often, I think that would potentially be something where they might go, seems a bit too much like malt character, especially like as you say, it's sort of saying that you almost shouldn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah, I agree. So it's slightly out kilter there, which I'm actually going to argue that actually the guidelines are probably a bit whack on that point, given that they're calling this out as a commercial exemplar. That actually I think you should be getting a good malt aroma. In terms of it talks medium to medium high bitterness. I think that's pretty bang on in range.
yeah. It was 40 IBUs according to the homebrew recipe.
Yeah, it talks about generally bready, perhaps a little biscuit flavour. Okay, caramel flavours are typically absent. There should be no diacetyl. Hot bitterness and flavours should be pronounced. Okay. Fine.
What malt do we think this is? Is it? Would you say it's Maris, or do you think it's not bready enough for Maris?
I might be leaning towards like a low colour Maris, maybe. Do you think if you used Maris Otter, it would come out a bit darker? I don't know.
Straight
Yeah,
Maris.
I mean,
So bright.
on its own, it's difficult to say, isn't it? Because can be such a subtle difference.
I wonder if that's just a classic pale ale malt, just a pale malt.
Yeah.
That would be where I'd probably be leaning.
Yeah.
So it talks about hot bitterness and flavour should be pronounced. Okay, that's cool. Moderate low to low esters, medium dry to dry finish. So what's the finish like? We haven't really talked about that.
Stunning. Just lingers, doesn't it? It just coats your mouth. It's got that nice citrus sort of finish on it, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
I think the bitterness is
dry.
there to sort of dry it off a bit at the end, but it does
Yeah.
initially have a sort of sweetness to it. It's actually, like body wise, I think it's got a fairly decent amount of body to it. This beer for a golden ale, but then the bitterness, and again coming back to it being 5%, obviously it's a slightly stronger beer, so I think you're going to get that almost by default to an extent. But I think the bitterness does kind of cleanse the palate a little bit at the end as well, which is, yeah, it finishes really nice to me. I think it does invite you back for another sip, which is why my glass is rapidly running out.
Oh yeah, I mean this is
Easy.
evaporating.
Still got 2 bottles.
I mean the mouth is described by the guidelines to be light to medium body. I'd say that's probably because of the ABV. Naturally, you'll fall into more of that medium body,
Medium.
which I think's probably on point. Carbonation seems pretty good. So I would say that's pretty bang on throughout the guidelines, other than the little to no malt aroma.
Yeah.
It's probably the only thing that's sticking out for me.
I feel like this is one also where if you have judges that get given a beer before this one that's maybe got some American hops in it, or is a little bit more leaning over towards the kind of American pale ale style of golden ales that we see quite a lot of nowadays, that might skew their opinion on that a little bit, where they kind of go, oh yeah, the hop presence wasn't really there and it's actually a bit too malty. And do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's in the context of if you've drunk something that's a little bit more contemporary prior to that, it might skew the judges. But other than that, if you read if you actually follow the guidelines, you go, yeah, actually this is like a really good classic interpretation of the style. It's just a little bit more old school rather than, because it's obviously focused on the UK hops.
I thought it was screaming to me Styrian Goldens, to be honest. It's kind of like Landlord a little bit with that sort of citrusy note to it. And I was thinking, is this Styrian Goldens, yeah.
Oh, you said it's got Styrian in the homebrew recipe,
yeah.
But that's not what it says on the...
Well, it says Goldings on the website.
Was it off the website that it said Goldings?
Yeah, but that could be Styrian. It could be
Styrian Goldings then.
Yeah.
Could be deliberately vague.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, that might also be presenting a bit more of that floral note as well, that more meadow floral note. Do you get that from Styrian Goldings as well?
Yeah, it's like
citrusy,
definitely. Lemon,
a little bit lemony, kind of floral.
Yeah, you think?
I mean, it's kind of a bit more towards the noble sort of hop character, isn't it? With a little bit of that sort of light citrus.
That's why it suits like real ale so well, sort of thing,
Yeah, it's a great hop.
I think that the beer's got like a nice, almost creaminess to it. I think that will be absolutely banging on Hample.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Because you won't have as high a carbonation, but the bitterness is there to thing it. So yeah, it'll be. I bet you it's a totally different beer in Handpill as well.
I've got leftover hops from the Landlord clone. I'm now thinking like, old school golden ale like this for the beer engine. And the new pin.
Yeah.
For the summer. Gotta be done.
That could be an option, right? I think...
Convinced you?
Also, because I know it's like a beer that I would definitely be able to get through. Like,
you'd nail it.
You'd be
what do you think the ABV is on cask?
Might be lower, because see the homebrew version, I think it's like 4.5 or 4.6.
Yeah, 4.5.
4.6 in this. Okay.
Yeah, and bottled is 5.
Yeah. That's interesting how they change it, depending. Because there is a total different thing with cask and bottled. Because when I did the Yarl one I did with Dell, we did a double batch and he took his away, right? And then he bottled it. And then we tried it side by side, the cask version to the bottled. And it was like the bottled was like way, it definitely had that carbonic bite thing. There was like more slight more fruity esters sort of coming through as well. Yeah, it was interesting how different they kind of were. It felt like two total different beers, just depending on
sure.
serving.
Well,
So yeah,
interesting.
could be the same with
Baggers
this.
in the chat advocating for cars.
Casca's the way
The
forward.
Lord of
Surprisingly.
Cask has arrived in the
Lord
chat.
of Cask. There he is in the chat.
All hail, baggers.
That's good. So
Side quest.
Yeah.
I think this has been a great example, well chosen.
It's a good
from
good
the
start,
examples.
wasn't it?
Yeah, very.
Tricky or whoever picked them out.
Well,
What I know
BJCP
wasn't
chose
me.
it really, so I'll let
Well,
them take the credit.
I'm sure Tricky, did you not pick all three? You just went, right, these are the ones we're doing, get these ordered, and we're like, right,
Basically, yeah. So somebody had
just
to
the one.
move it on.
cool. Yeah, true.
Um,
It was a lot, it
I
was
mean,
very
no,
last minute.
to be fair, it's basically if it's an exemplar, like you've got to kind of go with that, haven't you?
Oh,
So
yeah. And
was
it's available.
It was only
Yeah.
the IPA that was the one that I had to sort of
Missing.
think a little bit about it. They did have Oakham JHB as well, but the bottles on the site were like best before like next month or something. So I thought, well, let's not get some like stale old bottles of that and stick with the Exmoor Gold. But seems like that was a good choice in the end.
Fair dues.
Yeah. So we mentioned sort of talking about recipe stuff, and obviously, we've kind of gone through the general guidelines already, which you can use to sort of steer your recipe design a little bit. But used a bit of the old AI, helper with this one, and basically fed in the guidelines, and also prompted it to look at award-winning examples and exemplar kind of clone recipes, and sort of fuse those together into a suggested sort of recipe guide or whatever. And what it came out with, basically the batch specs pretty much sit the kind of bang in the middle of the guidelines as you'd expect. So kind of 4.5% ABV, with the associated OG and FG that you'd expect from that. IBUs around about 30 something. I think you could probably have scope to maybe push those up a little bit based on some of the guidelines. And color, obviously you're going for quite a pale gold, light or low level EBC. With the grist, it has gone with mostly just sort of Maris Otter pale malt, but interestingly it has added a couple of additions in there. Clearly you can do it with just a single malt, and there should be no issue with that at all, but it's added a bit of wheat malt in, and it's kind of put in brackets head retention for that. And then 3% light crystal. So light crystal, looking at the guidelines, I wouldn't personally.
No, I
I think
obviously a little bit of like something like a dextrin malt or something is not necessarily going to make any difference. But if in the guidelines, it's in the suggested recipe, it's talking about light crystal in terms of 40 to 60 EBC.
Oh, that's super light.
And
that's
really
really
light, but even so, 3% of that, I think
Could
you
you get away
might
with
start
a
to
bit
get a
of
bit of
Caragold,
caramel
maybe?
flavour. Caragold, I mean, there's
That's
some
got- it's Caragold
really
territory,
low
isn't it?
colour ones now available, like your Caraglow, Carahel as well, which is a
Yeah.
German malt, but it's still very low. And yeah, Caragold. So
I'm just
maybe,
not sure it needs
but
it,
I'm just,
right?
I think I can see the argument for the wheat malt, but I don't really feel like the light crystal is necessary, particularly.
No.
Don't know
We're
what you
probably
think.
talking torrefied wheat as well, being the ideal.
Yeah,
option.
perhaps. I mean, maybe if you're going for a
Or
much
flake
like
wheat.
lower ABV version of it, and you're sort of going, I want to do a sort of mid 3% beer, perhaps a little bit of crystal malt just to sort of help give it a little bit more, residual sweetness and body
Bit of
might make a
depth.
bit more sense.
Yeah.
Depends on your yeast
But I
as
think-
well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think with this one, like this is a good example of why, like, if you brew a sort of fairly
100%. And it was
strong
Maris
beer with
Otter,
100%
Teddy.
Maris Otter, it's going to have plenty of malt flavour anyway,
Yeah,
so you don't
Teddy
really need to do
mentioned
that.
in the comments that it was Maris Otter they used for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
so. Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, is it Maris? 'Cause it's got that. It does have that sort of real breadiness.
So
to it.
I guess the conclusion probably in terms of what we would say is just keep it as simple as possible, and single malt is probably fine. If you want to add a little something to that to maybe help aid head retention or whatever, then go ahead. You could even argue maybe a little bit of sugar to help sort of dry it out and keep it really, light
Mm-hmm.
body in terms of the guidelines could be an option. Looking at the hops, it's gone very traditional sort of initially, and then it's thrown in a little bit Cascade at the end. So I think that's kind of looking at the more modern interpretations of it. So Goldings for bittering, combined with some Challenger, and then a bit of Cascade in the mix for flame outs, and an optional dry hop where you very modest amount, but potentially a dry hop if you want to do that.
Would
with
you?
Sort of 20 to 30 grams. I wouldn't. No.
I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either. I in parallel have had AI generate a recipe for this, which suggested Challenger for bittering. It suggested a 90-minute boil. And then went East Kent Goldings at 15 minutes, Styrian Goldings or Bowbeck at 15 minutes, and then Styrian Goldings.
I would go Styrian. Yeah, that's what I would go Styrian, and you can do Styrian and a little bit of Cascade or something. Cascade's a great one because I think was it the Arran Blonde as well. I don't know if you guys have had that, but it's got Cascade in it, and I think it does work really well and sort of.
Oh, I mean, there's plenty of
Golden
commercial
Ales.
examples where they might even be using exclusively American hops. So I mean, Jarl is
Citra.
Golden Ale, all Citra, and there'll be various other ones as well.
It kind of depends what you go for, right? Like if you're going for like a British Golden Ale, then don't use it. I think if you are going to use Cascade, use it in a very deft way.
Oh, it's very like.
Otherwise, it's going to very easily overpower the carrots of the English hops.
Like a 20 gram sort of thing,
Yeah.
What is it just for yeast out of interest?
Basically, just says sort of go with very clean, high attenuation sort of English ale strain. So it's like Nottingham WLP 007, which I can't remember that's a liquid equivalent of one of the famous English ale strains. But I know that there's plenty of commercial beers that would be using like US05 or similar kind of what are branded as West Coast strains, but they're all originate out of like English ale yeast anyway. So clean sort of American yeasts are basically going to be doing the same sort of job as a Nottingham or similar. The Scottish ale yeast, I think, because that is what Jarl or fine ales use, would be a good option. Because and again, I've just made a beer with that. It does dry it out, does give you a sort of accentuated bitterness, dry sort of malty bitter flavour. So that's going to work well with
Pulls you
golden
back
ale
in.
as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What about LA3? Could that be a good option? Or just a bit too,
So that's
bit too
actually
fruity? Probably not going to attenuate enough.
You could.
You used it for your Yol clone,
yeah, I
didn't
did,
you?
and it went to 1.006 on, like,
really? Okay.
dried right out, and I basically put 20 grams of sugar in the cask to reprime it, and it worked. And I also put gelatin finings in the cask, and it proper dropped super bright. So
nice.
the worried about, will it be cloudy or what? It was it cleared right up with finings.
LA3 is like traditionally a English ale yeast, right? So
It's gonna. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's really good.
As long as you don't throw loads of hops at it, it normally does drop right pretty well. Fluctuates quite well.
Yeah, if you don't put it in dry hop, I think if you don't dry hop it, yeah. Because you don't. It's all just.
Yeah, that's probably one of those.
All in the boil, isn't it? Or
hazy gene.
Is there
hazy
like
gene yeasts, isn't it?
Flame out edition on it, or is it just literally?
It came in that modern homebrewer book, didn't it?
Yeah, did it?
Yeah, that was a cool one of the tracking recipes with that. But
is that Andy?
Yeah.
Andy's book.
Yeah, so it should be a legit recipe.
Yeah, exactly.
He definitely went direct to source for all of those, didn't he? So
yeah,
very good. So what are we thinking mash wise? Probably like 66 degrees.
Yeah, like at most probably, right?
Probably just trying to aim for like a sort of sub 10-10 finishing gravity.
Yeah, want a fairly
like
low
that.
FG. Fermentation wise, it's suggested starting on the cooler end of the range for whatever yeast you're using, and then you let it warm up or raise it towards the end just to make sure it attenuates out fully. But initial
Let it free
fermentation on the cooler side to keep it nice and clean and crisp.
Yeah.
And then water profile, basically the sort of standard kind of dry sort of English ale kind of profile, so high sulfate.
Okay. Not quite Burton levels, but
yeah, Burton light, it says on
Burton light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just on the Yal, it was like 10 grams at, what do you call it, first start the boil, 10 grams at 30 minutes, and then it was 150 gram whirlpool of Citra, all Citra throughout, so it's quite a big whirlpool.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a very hop forward golden ale, isn't it? I guess it's a modern interpretation of the golden ale.
That's quite that's a lot.
Thomas in the chat was saying that WLP 007, the James Bond yeast, is good for golden ales.
Yep.
And I'm going to believe Thomas because I reckon he's probably made quite a lot of them.
Oh, Bond.
Big
Is that
fan
you
of
can
the
get WHC?
English ale yeast.
Yep.
Do you reckon that's what WHC Bond is?
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's
it's
why it's called Bond?
Yeah,
it's got to be.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I've only just made that connection. And what yeast strain is WLP 007?
Well, that's the thing. I'm thinking, what could it be? And I'm kind of going, well, is that just SO4?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look at the description. Yeast known for its high attenuation.
I guess this so far.
It's probably not going to give us. This strain has become a go-to house strain for American breweries. Ideal strain for American and English hoppy beers.
Sorry for the noise. I feel like I have to start rolling this bottle. Follow
going for the
follow the
roll
proper
already.
preparation.
The question is,
Not allowed to
guys,
shake it though. Sorry,
It's not
don't
the
shake it.
Have you found yourself a schooner?
A schooner?
What?
Yeah.
No.
Obviously, if you're going to drink an Australian beer, you need
I'll
to
just
drink
pretend
it out
that
of
my
a schooner.
Malt Miller glass is a schooner.
No, absolute schmucks.
No, it's not good enough.
You
is
want to
it?
get yourself a tiny glass.
I don't have one. Sorry.
I'd like to drink my beer.
Well, I do, but they're in the garage, and I can't be asked.
quarter
Yeah,
pints,
someone
please.
else. It's looking at the glasses there.
No, to be fair, it is hot.
I just
stuff in
realised I've just
Australia,
been
so
rolling this
I don't
bottle
know.
around and I'm about to open it over the keyboard. It's bound to fucking go.
Yeah. Be careful. My keyboard.
Go
my
gentle
previous
with this
keyboard.
one.
So what did you do? Roll it?
Do you guys remember the episode we did with Ron?
Yes.
And we had that very low ABV beer that you let us know was pretty lively. About
Just as we were cracking it.
0.6 of a second after I'd opened it. Well, just to state, my keyboard did not survive that episode.
Did it die? I have killed keyboards with beer as well, and it's not just you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
There's a fair amount of yeast in this, isn't there? It's
There is.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's basically just looking like yeast flavors.
That is.
Well, it is. That's exactly what it is.
That's Hefe kind of.
That's not looking appealing,
Oh,
if I'm
fuck
honest.
off. This is going. Holy shit. Oh. Right.
That's definitely turned it into sort of Hefe style visuals with that.
It's like a bottle bomb.
So,
That's all right now.
just to add some context, right? So we're drinking an Australian sparkling ale.
Yep, we've moved on
Coopers.
to the next category.
Yeah. And there is a tradition in Australia with Cooper's beers.
Savages.
Which is called the Cooper's Roll, which is where you need to rouse the yeast from the bottom of the bottle, and all of these beers are bottle conditioned, which is quite interesting in itself, right? You don't tend to see a lot of bottle conditioning anymore, do you?
No.
In the main, right? So that's interesting in itself, quite traditional.
Smells good.
Bottle fermented.
Whoa.
And the idea is that, you kind of roll the beer before you open it. and I think the idea, and we were a bit confused as to kind of, well, why would you want to do that?
Why on earth
Frankly.
would you
Why?
want to do that?
Yeah.
But
Literally.
apparently, if you don't do it, the beer can be quite dry and bitter, and I think it helps to kind of add a bit to the body, and also kind of
Okay.
just balance out the bitterness a little bit.
Tricky
Anyway.
looks so sus.
I'm very confused by this beer, I've got to say. Very confused at this
Mine's
stage.
not looking quite as brown as what yours is. Oh, it
I
is
know.
on camera.
Let's see.
It looks much nicer in the glass than it does on camera, to be fair. But Tricky, tell us all about the style of
Well,
12B.
Oh,
yeah, the guideline is the guideline notes are quite interesting, especially the history bit. So, brewed since the 1800s apparently, and a survivor of historical Australian brewing, deeply tied to the Cooper's Brewery in Adelaide, obviously, and well, according to this, one of the most unique beers in the world. It's an ale that thinks it's a champagne. It has been brewed in Adelaide since 1862.
Champagne.
Yeah, I don't know about champagne. Deep yellow to light amber. I mean, it's yellowy, orangey
Deep
murk
yellow,
now that
yeah.
I've rolled the yeast around. But yeah, deep yellow, fair enough. I mean, there's almost no point comparing it to the sort of guidelines because it is the guidelines, isn't it? It's like they're written
Yeah,
for
it's
this
just
beer.
this beer.
But yeah, poured with the yeast rouse, making it cloudy. It has massive soda-like carbonation. I mean, it's not sort of erupted out of the glass or anything, but it definitely does taste quite effervescent and well carbonated.
Yeah, definite.
Says there's prominent yeast profile, fruit esters. Hops are typically pride of Ringwood, giving it a very distinct earthy, woody, herbaceous, and even slightly iron-like
Resinous.
metallic resinous flavour.
Yeah, I get it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, highly carbed, crisped, highly attenuated. Yeah, what do we think of this beer, guys? Because this is definitely a departure from the golden ale, isn't it?
It's more. It's a lot more, isn't it, on the fruit?
What do you think about the aroma? Because I think there is 100% like a big kind of yeasty, estery sort of thing going on with the aroma. It's not quite
matey?
to the point of being, you know, yeah, hefe sort of banana, but I think there is a hint of it there.
That's a really
not-
good point, Trick.
Yeah. It's not jumping out the glass. It's not a particularly
You've got quite a
strong
big
aroma.
head in yours.
But then I've got a massive head on
Yeah,
mine. So I
Nick-
don't know if
Get rid of that.
that's muting the aroma. Actually, on the taste, I really like it. Actually,
Yes, it's
Um,
nice.
I do get that iron thing that you mentioned from the
The
hops.
metallic.
Yeah,
Yep.
but specifically iron. Just the impression of.
Iron brew.
Well, maybe not iron brew, but it's very, very fizzy,
Yep.
very highly carbonated.
Is your glass etched on? Is that why it's got such a cracking head on it?
I think it might be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
why
my-
it's keeping.
It's my schooner. It's definitely.
It's like
It's absolutely just streaming.
big creamy
with,
head.
yeah, so I think it is etched at the bottom. I do like this glass actually. It's a bit like the Kolsch Tang. Is it a Tang you get? Is that the right word
Kulsh.
for a Kolsch? Chat, keep me honest. I think it's called a Tang.
There's a certain tang about it.
Yes, there's some tanginess to it.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's very interesting. It's got
I'm just not sure what to make of this at the minute because it was really not kind of what I was expecting. Obviously, I knew that we were going to like roll the bottle around and rouse the yeast up. I wasn't quite expecting it to be such a impact on the flavour of it.
Haven't
Did you put all the
you
yeast
didn't
in?
get as far as to thinking about what the beer might be like. You just sort of got as far as we've got to roll this beer.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, there's an interesting malt character to it. It is quite. I would go as far as to say malt forward, but it's definitely like a good strong malt character to it.
Yeah. It's almost kind of similar to the previous with that sort of strong sugary barley. It's more kind of it's more sugary barley, isn't it? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Than honey. The last one was very honey. Was this one's? It's like a barley sugar sweet.
barley sugar.
That's a
probably
good
bit-
shout, actually. There's definitely,
Werther's-
there's a real note.
Where there's
on this.
original sort
More
of.
of like a slightly grainier
Mm-hmm.
malt character, almost like very much more like raw barley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more rustic, isn't it? Like in the grain
Yeah.
profile.
Almost got kind of, if you threw a saison yeast at that, it would be at home in a saison. That character, almost like maybe the hops are giving that impression. Like the hops are a little bit peppery.
It's like I don't. It's kind of that pear. I'm getting kind of
They
pear
did.
apple with the barley sugar.
They did mention about the yeast giving off pom flavors and aromas.
Yeah,
Apple, pear.
on the nose, like the high notes.
You're
So do you
absolutely
like
right,
it?
Andy. Nailed it.
I do like it. Yeah, it's.
You do?
I think. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I
not
think it's
convinced.
really nice. I could tell your
I'm
face.
not
the whole
convinced.
I think you've rolled too much yeast into it, Trick.
I mean, mine's just an absolute like.
There's
mine
still-
looks like a Nipah, basically.
There is.
Yeah,
bits
I mean,
at
I'm
the
pretty sure
bottom.
Owen's got a similar amount of yeast in it to me, but
Yeah, I mean, there's still yeast
I
at
mean,
the
I'm
bottom
not.
of the bottle as
There's
well.
not. Actually, there is some yeast floating at the bottom of it. It's
Yeah, I'm glad that I haven't got floaters in mine. At
Yeah.
least the yeast. At least the yeast. is
Yeah.
kind of
I don't want to
dissipated
offend
and
any sort of Australian Coopers fans that might listen to the podcast, but it's just sort of makes me think of homebrewy beer that's kind of missed the mark of it. I mean, I'm probably a little bit.
Oh wow! Right, so mine's just really
dissolved.
nice.
I think that's unfair. I don't think there's any flaws in the beer. I
No.
do agree it's a little bit rustic in a way.
Yeah.
But
But in a
I
good
do
way.
think the Pride of Ringwood hops are probably playing their part in that. I think
Yeah.
they're quite like dare I say a brash hop.
No, I think they're to be fair, they're well known for being a little bit abrasive.
Yeah,
Can we say like on the bitterness?
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I'm
maybe that is
quite
being a bit
enjoying it.
harsh, but it's just not really.
I'm quite enjoying it.
Not really doing it for me.
I do kind of remember the pale ale being better though.
Oh, I definitely enjoyed the pale ale more than this. I've got
Yeah.
to say.
I'd quite like to try and get my hands on some of the pale ale just for
If you
you know,
guys
we
seen
could-
ABV,
maybe Trick and I we could reminisce about our gap
Yeah,
year.
yeah. Gapyar. I'd quite like to.
Boys,
I'd quite like
have
to
you
try this without rolling the yeast out of it now as well. Like give
Well,
it give it a
uh,
week to settle out in the fridge and then drink it like
you should have
It's
bought two.
like a normal human would. But,
guys,
yeah.
it's 5.8%.
It's only a small bottle though.
Holy crap. Okay. Yeah, I
That
might
maybe
slow
explains
down,
the barley
actually.
sugar.
Wow.
Yeah, to be fair, it does. It does. I think that sort of sweetness to it, or the it's got quite a heavy body, hasn't it? So it's
Yeah.
It has got quite a big
I think
body.
that's,
Yeah.
But it's got lots of drinkability.
definitely reflected by the
Yeah, I mean, it's quite dry.
ABV.
Yeah, the bitterness brings you back, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's quite well balanced. I think it's like
I mean, yeah. To be fair, even though I've said I've not enjoyed it that much, it's still kind of going down relatively
exactly.
quickly. I don't know.
I didn't realise it was 5.8%.
Yeah, so
I've been drinking it like it's about 4.5. So
Yeah.
the next category could be interesting.
IPA. It's probably the weakest beer of the lot, isn't it?
Probably.
Oh,
No, it's in the
5.3.
middle. It goes
It's in the
back
middle.
a
What's
bit.
beer become, hey, when you're trying to drink a proper IPA and it's
Well,
weak
that's the
as hell?
thing.
That's
What's
the thing.
going
I
on?
thought IPA was above 5.5.
Well,
Or is that
Or-
American?
authentic English IPA should be quite strong, but that, like I was saying earlier, it's actually really difficult to find
Yeah.
anything that's English
Actually-
IPA that is actually anywhere
actual-
close to the guidelines.
Yeah.
It's almost style blurring, isn't
Yeah.
it? Over time, styles changed.
And some of them have just like been discontinued as well. Because one of the exemplar beers I think is Bengal Lancer by Fuller's, which is a really great beer. I used to love that beer. It was one of the
Well,
beers
stop
that kind
making
of
it.
got me into got me into cask actually. So quite a lot of Fuller's pubs where I'm from originally. But yeah, they don't produce it anymore. That
Yeah.
one's gone. And it, that wasn't like full on, Victorian style IPA or anything, but it was still quite strong and quite heavily hopped by the standards of what is branded
There you go.
IPA
It's
in a lot of
Teddy's
other
favourite
places.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that beer inspired me a lot. Actually, I really got into hunting tigers in the Indian jungle as a result of drinking that beer.
I did a bit
was
of
that in your
inspiration.
gap? Was that in your gap?
good number
that
on my
was on
gap
my
yard.
gap yard.
And jar.
Yeah, no, just for absolute clarity, for purpose of record, I've never hunted a tiger and never would on a gap yard or not on a gap yard.
Very exclusive
that was
gap yard activity. £2,000 per tiger.
That was just a bad joke, actually.
No tigers were hurt in the making of this
No
episode. don't worry,
tigers were
guys.
hurt in the making of my gap yard. I'm enjoying this beer. I think it's good. I think it's interesting that there is actually very few comparators for this beer style. Do you reckon it's one that you might ever get round to going, you know what, I'm gonna try and make a Australian sparkling ale?
Nah.
What do you think?
No.
No, maybe not. Maybe
The
not.
Exmoor Gold, I would definitely brew that. Definitely, because that was stunning. But can you actually buy the kit? Can you buy a Cooper's? Because you get the
Oh, you
Cooper's
definitely can buy a
kits.
kit. Yeah,
Yeah,
you buy
yeah,
a-
I think
Can you get the
100%.
sparkling ale kit?
You definitely can.
You can buy it on Beers of Europe, where we bought that beer from.
There's a kit for the
There's a kit
sparkling
for
ale.
it, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Let's
I'm
do
pretty
it.
sure there is.
Let's
if you
do the
go,
entire
if you
pod
go
on
to Beers of Europe and just type in Coopers, I'm pretty
I'm
sure
out.
there's a number of kit.
You do that on your own,
homebrew
guys.
kit beers for Coopers on there.
We'll get Jugsy in as a guest for that one. I'm doing something
I mean,
else. Sorry.
if anyone has been to Australia and drunk beer, like I think excluding maybe the last 5 years, where I think Australia's like much like here in the US,
Galaxy.
has gone like real into like a craft beer revolution.
Well,
I think if you look at the kind of what traditionally was the core beers, a lot of the beers are pretty shit,
like,
to be honest. A lot of
I
the
don't know.
kind
You'd
of
need to ask guy.
mid-strength, not very exciting kind of golden brown beer. And I think Cooper's is a bit of a standout in terms of being a bit different to what your classic Australian mid-strength lager /
Is it
mid-strength
triple X?
bitter is.
Is it?
No, I
is it-
mean, to be fair, even
You
with
know.
my uneducated palate at the time, the
I've
Cooper's
never-
Pale Ale stood out as a bit of an outlier. Like, wow, this is a bit different.
It was.
You know.
It was.
Not Foster's,
versus
no.
like VB.
You can't buy it there, mate. It's not.
No,
it's
you
not a
can't.
thing.
It's
You can't
not
buy
real.
it. You can get 4X though, although it's not. Even that is not that widely distributed. But I actually did.
Is that
the,
right?
I
Is
did
it
the
VB?
4X brewery tour when I was there, which was quite fun.
What
They
are
actually
some-
had they had like a wider range of beers than you'd expect. I'm pretty sure I had a sort
Yeah.
of 4X like dark lager when I was there that was actually quite good.
That was
But
served
yeah,
the local
again,
market.
that was a long time ago. So
I sort of remember drinking a lot of like
Yeah.
Victoria Bitter, Carlton.
yeah, Victoria Bitter is pretty horrible. That's some nasty
4X,
shit.
Tooheys. Did you drink much Tooheys? That was a pretty...
Did have a lot of that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, drank quite a lot of Tooheys. All of it just being kind of pretty middle of the road kind of beer generally. So I think, Cooper's was a bit of a standout. So credit to them. Credit to them
they've got Galaxy
sticking
now,
it out.
so
Exactly. I mean, such amazing hops. Like, why are they making such boring beer? But they are obviously making a lot of very exciting beer. Thanks to the craft beer revolution over there. Anyway, I'm going to stop offending all of our Australian
half our listeners.
Australian listeners.
Yeah, we love you.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Excuse
Their
me.
favourite pommy. Right, are we going to drink the next beer?
Oh, I need to finish this
Andy, tell us about English IPA. We're going to hear about English IPA from a Scot.
one. Oh, no way. Right, so what's the history of it? Well, there's the exemplars that was saying was what we talked about earlier was the Fuller's Bengal Lancer, which is now discontinued. It was Sam Smith's
sadly.
India Ale. Sam Smith's a funny one, isn't it? And then Meantime, we know about Meantime. They've got IPA as well. Okay, so the history, the legendary beer brewed for export to India. It's separate from the modern American IPA or hazy IPAs that you think about. Yeah, it's kind of one of the oldest styles, I would imagine. So I think the history, we all know the history of English IPA was heavily hopped, probably heavily dry hopped to kill any infection in the casks, and it allowed long voyage, and hence why it's probably quite highly hopped. The appearance of it can be golden to deep amber, but it has to be clear. Aroma and flavour, moderate to assertive hop bitterness, but heavily reliant on English hop characteristics. So floral, spicy, peppery, earthy, marmalade and citrus. I think I quite like the marmalade. It's probably one of the things I would look for. Malt is noticeable, but should support the hops. Think bready biscuit or light toast. Mouthfeel should be smooth, medium to light, medium body. A defining trait is a dry finish, often accentuated by the high sulfate Burton water profiles, which can give a slight mineral sulfur note. Yeah, because you've got, was it your calcium sulfate in the water is quite high in the area of Burton. Is it Burton-on-Trent? So from their wells down there, so you can get quite a. Is that about like 300 to 400 ppm of sulfate?
Yeah, it's the old Burton Snatch. If anyone's ever been to Burton-on-Trent, the whole place smells like egg.
Yeah, because I'm sure, what's he call it, Mr. Wheatlow Brewery himself, he's been experimenting heavily with the kind of Burtonised water. It's something I've always backed away from. I always shy from a heavily Burtonised water.
I've never gone full on.
Full Burton. No,
you know,
200.
3 to 400. You could 350 or something. Yeah,
I've gone up to about
parts
200,
per
and that's about as much as I've gone sulfate wise. But
200.
yeah,
To be fair, though,
usually I'll be like 150 tops. But
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think twice about going to 150, 200 chloride on an EPA.
No, that's true.
I'm gonna go for the IPA glass I've got.
Oh, that would feel appropriate.
That's what we've done.
I've got one of these
So,
Williams Brothers ones.
I did something a little bit dangerous, which was like reading around the topic yesterday. And I I was looking at the IPA book by Mitch Steele. It's actually really an interesting read, and for the fans of the Bengal Lancer, there's actually a sort of, well, not particularly detailed recipe, but there is a kind of clone recipe guide probably for that beer in there. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is just in terms of the historical background, that there's a little bit of a sort of myth busting thing in that book as far as this idea that sort of India Pale Ales were, designed for that journey, and that's where it came from. Somebody basically went, "Oh yeah, we need to make a beer that's got loads of hops in it to do that."
Right.
I'll sort of summarize how I understand it anyway, just because otherwise you could spend ages talking about this. But I think that the general gist of it was that there was lots of people making very heavily hopped beers anyway prior to that, basically sort of like keeping or storing beers. People already knew that you could put loads of hops in them to make them last longer.
Yeah.
And by default, people realised, okay, well, if we want to send a beer that's going to go further away, we're probably better off sending the stronger and more heavily hopped beer. And it wasn't just pale ales that were sent either. It was actually like more porters and stuff like that were going over there initially. So basically, the general gist of it was like the term IPA sort of came a lot later, almost like over 100 years after these beers had already been getting sent out to India in the first place, and really sort of IPA was probably more of a sort of an evolution of a marketing term for beer, as opposed to like IPA was actually designed for the purpose of being sent over long distances.
Yeah.
Interestingly as well, there was a lot of stuff in the book about how what we think of as an IPA was probably radically different to what IPAs were like that were being drunk then, because they would have been sent on a, like boat journey through tropical climates with in wooden barrels. So they were probably basically drinking mixed firm, breaded IPA.
Support.
Barrel aged mixed,
which was sent, and the stuff saying that they were sent out flat in the barrel, and then it was basically re-fermenting in the barrel through Brett, which is why it would be arriving. So, like I said, really interesting book, well worth a read, but it does sort of kind of slightly shoot down that sort of the general kind of idea that so IPA came about because people went, we need a beer that we can send to India, so we're going to design this pale ale that we're going to put loads of hops in. It's not quite how it worked. It was more of a IPA really was a marketing term that came off the back of them realizing, oh look, people really like the pale ales that we've sent over to India. And then it came back to Britain and was then like, oh, let's call it like an India pale ale, because now that's a kind of cool like marketing term almost.
It's like an evolution, right? Like it got a certain,
it's still with us,
a certain credibility as being a great beer style, and they're like, oh, okay, let's start spinning up a
and it was kind of almost became more of what we would understand as an English IPA once it came back to Britain and was then started being brewed in Burton by people like Bass and so on and so forth.
Is that somewhat not true of all beer styles and how they emerge, though, right? In terms of, someone comes up with some new beer style, they start making it, people drink it, it becomes famous, then they come up with a term for it.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
It's pretty much like how every beer style has kind of eventually emerged, right? In terms of and then others emulate it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes like a foothold to some geographic place or whatever. But that was really interesting, Tricky. Thanks for doing the reading on it.
Have you guys smelt this beer?
Well, I was about to say, because you mentioned marmalade and you liking marmalade beers. I was kind of like, they've got loads of that on there, isn't it?
But are you guys like, when I smell it, all I get is the button snatch. It's like loads of that. It's just like that sort of water profile.
Yeah, you do get if you really smell it.
It's metallic.
You've got some metallic.
It's metallic.
Egg sulfur, but it's hidden behind a whole bunch of
I get the orangey
marmalade
thing first.
citrus orange.
Serious? I'm getting
do-
snatch massive straight away.
But now you've said metallic, I'm kind of
You
thinking,
love
yeah, there's
snatch,
almost
though,
like
don't you?
a iron coppery
Uh-huh.
sort of,
Yeah.
you know, note on there as well.
Yeah. But in the flavour, like that's where the real marmalade starts hitting, sort of thing.
Good bitness, though. So, did we get the high level guideline stats on this beer?
Oh, we have not. So that's further up. So
that's
Back up the top, isn't it?
5. So an English IPA is between 5 and 7.5%. Is that IBUs is between 40 to 60. Colour SRM's 6 to 14, so I guess that's 12 to 28 roughly.
Yeah.
And then the vibe, basically dry, earthy, and it's like a balanced historical export beer, basically.
Yeah, we talked a bit about that, haven't we? So
Yeah.
it actually says on the bottle here, so this is 5.3%. So it's
So it's in
on the
style.
slightly lower end of the beer style. We've talked about
Yeah,
the
up
fact
to
that, you know,
7.5.
IPAs have, like, I guess,
It's probably the
changed a bit.
drinkability, and then also tax and duty and stuff on
Exactly.
beers drives
Yeah,
these things down.
I think in this modern day and age, they're trying to obviously brew beers that are going to appeal to the drinker, right? Otherwise, they're not just going to make beers because historically IPAs were
7.5%.
7.5%.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And
So
to be
you know,
fair,
like that.
this is not like a beer that would be accessible to somebody who's not drunk, you know, ale or, you know, cast. But like, I mean, imagine sort of trying to give this to somebody who's only drunk, you know, Foster's or whatever. Versus,
No way.
It basically explains the whole
Yeah.
marketing sort of strategy behind
But X
creating
more
golden
golds, yeah.
ales
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
versus
That's-
trying to give somebody something like that and go,
Pure
Gateway drug.
button snatch.
yeah, sort yourself
marmalade.
out, you know, drink that that's got some proper flavour
Back.
to it. Most people would be like, what the fuck, that's, you know,
too
Yeah.
bitter,
too bitter,
Yeah.
it's too, you know.
too caramel, too bitter, too hoppy, all the rest of it. The bottle
But
actually,
for the more seasoned palate.
yeah, for the more hardened drinker. So interestingly, it talks about C is light bronze, smell marmalade and fruit. Fruit's a poor descriptor. Come on.
Yeah.
You need
can
to do a
better than that.
bit more specific, right?
And,
Like,
and taste, rich orange zest.
Yeah.
But there's
That's-
two statements. So the taste is rich. Again,
Citrus.
I think they could probably be a little bit more specific. But there is an awful lot of marmalade orange zest on this beer.
Yeah.
What are you,
I love
what are you
that.
thinking hop-wise on to get that much marmalade?
Oh, it's Admiral hops that goes into it.
it did say somewhere that it's all
Yeah.
Admiral, didn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Which is interesting
Oh,
because
wow.
Admiral's actually traditionally just intended as a kind of bittering hop, but you know there must have been some of it put in a bit later in the boil for it to impart that much flavour.
I mean,
course.
that is a crazy amount of orange vibe.
But yeah, it's pure
It's like a West
orange
Coast.
zest marmalade, isn't it? So
It's almost West Coast IPA in a sense, isn't it? Because
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost it's Apollo. It's
resinous, isn't it? It's got that
Yeah,
resin
yeah.
sort of thing.
super resinous. So they are actually closer than It's
I
definitely.
think that's it.
yeah.
You know, sort of like put kind of like a dry hop on that, and it would be West Coast IPA, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
What's the other really orangey hop? American hop.
Oh,
Amarillo.
Amarillo. I knew it started with A.
I wonder if there's any heritage shared between those two varieties. Or...
Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? You wonder if Amarillo is just Admiral taken off to the US. Jack was saying he's getting like a Talus type blue cheese taste on this.
Blue
one,
cheese.
which is quite interesting. I remember talking at length about a blue cheese vibe on red wine to
You were talking about blue cheese, on the previous pod, or with the
On the Fine Ales episode, yeah.
yeah.
The more I go back to the aroma, the more I'm getting that metallic sort of sulphurous thing now. It's
Maybe that's what Jack's picking up in terms of the kind of blue cheese vibe.
yeah.
So, a bit on Admiral. Admiral is a high alpha British hop variety released in '96, known for providing clean, assertive bitterness alongside citrus, orange, and resinous herbal notes. Derived from Northdown and Challenger, it's commonly used as a dual-purpose hop in particular English ales, IPAs, and stouts. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? In terms of like, if you're interested in trying to get that orange vibe, Admiral could be a much cheaper option than going for Idaho 7 and Amarillo.
Yeah, and it's cleaner. It's get that. Yeah.
Could work really well in a West Coast IPA. That.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
I like this a lot.
Yeah,
It's a good beer.
We've got a listener that's just joined us that's catching up on the Cooper's discussion. He said you tend to not get the right yeast if you get Cooper's kit. You can harvest the yeast from the bottle.
Yes.
So that is
yes.
he suggested
It's not a bottle condition.
dregs from a 6-pack can be spun up on a 2-step starter, so that's pretty handy.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true home brewer. That smash the 6-pack. Get your 2-step starter on. Jobs are good and for the
In the interest of
3
science.
day in 2 days time. So thank you for your contribution.
That is a good shout.
That's great. But back to this. So what are we thinking in terms of how this compares to the guidelines then?
It's
You
actually
talk a lot
alright.
about the beer.
Actually does line up, doesn't it?
Colour, deep yellow.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Orange.
Yeah. Moderate to assertive hop bitterness.
Yep,
Tick.
definite.
English hops characteristics: floral, spicy, peppery, earthy, marmalade, citrus. Tick.
Yep,
All marmalade.
Earthy,
Yeah,
earthy,
earthy as well, yeah.
marmalade.
What about the malt characteristic? Malt is noticeable, but should support the hops. Think bready biscuit-like taste.
I get a lot of bready brown bread in the
Bready.
background.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marmalade on brown toast
Yeah,
is kind of
that's
how I
it.
would sort of summarize the flavour profile of this beer. Yeah. So I think it's light toast, bready. It hits that for me as well. Bang on, to be fair.
What about the mouthfeel? So it's smooth, medium light to medium body, and a defining trait is the dry finish, often accentuated by the Burton water profile. So the sulfate kind of snap.
Yeah. Again, I feel like they must have done something with the water profile on this to really push the sulfate up, because on the back end of it, particularly for me, you get that very distinct sort of like sulfate kind of not sure how to describe it, but you know when the beer's gone, you kind of have that lingering not bitterness, but after the bitterness has gone, there's still a sort of minerally kind of finish on this beer for me. So I think that's definitely there.
Yeah, it makes
slightly slightly sulphurous, minerally kind of back end to the flavour.
Yeah, I think we've talked a bit about the kind of that coming through on the aroma as well.
Yeah.
Nice. So I think that's almost a slam dunk for this.
I mean, I think this could be an exemplar replacement for Bengal Lancer. Personally,
I think you're right. I think it was well chosen, Tricky.
Yeah, very well. Yeah, I
It's a
agree.
bit of a punt.
yeah, I had no idea whether it was going to be. I mean, to be fair, I knew Hook Norton are do legit sort of traditional ales, and they're a solid brewery. So I felt relatively confident that if they'd done something as a sort of celebration, old school style IPA, it would probably be decent.
So they're a Cotswold brewery, right? Presumably Hook Norton.
Hook Norton is. I've just got.
Yeah, they're the guys with the really old school brew house that I think people have done tours of.
Yeah.
That looks really cool.
So it's Cotswolds, right? It's just up the road from Chipping Norton.
Still got like dray horses and stuff.
So it's up. What do you call it? Clarkson's Farm.
Yeah,
it'll be in that sort of area. Yeah.
It's where like loads of celebs live at Chipping Norton. Lots of prime ministers live in that area. So it's very well to do, isn't it? In that part of the world. Burton on Water, if you've ever been there, is very, very nice part of the world. If you ever get the opportunity,
I should go check it out. Actually,
you should. The Cotswolds are lovely. Cheltenham is very nice, and of course you're pretty close to Bristol, where there's some fantastic breweries. So
I do like Brizzy.
it'd be rude
Good night.
not to visit. To be honest with you. Good. What else have we got to talk about then? That's pretty much. We've pretty much wrapped this up.
Well, recipe wise, I guess. I mean, actually, rather than just going straight into what AI says, if you guys were going to try and make a beer like this, what would you do? We've kind of talked about the water profile, so I think that's a given. We've got to go high sulfate on that. But other than that, what
if I was
would you go?
recreating that?
Yeah. And you're not allowed to use Admiral. You got to choose something else.
What? No, I would definitely use Admiral.
But you've got to add at least another hop into it.
It's got to be Marisota base.
Really?
Yeah. Or pale. You could go pale malt, but I think you'd be remiss.
Missing.
I think you've got to have some a fairly, characterful sort of base malt for this.
If you're not adding caramel, then yeah, I think a nice Maris would be.
I mean, looking
really,
at the
really
colour
good.
on that, do you think there is much? There can't be much added to it.
Come on! Look how it's so bright.
I don't think so. I think if there is a bit of crystal, it's a very, very light splattering of crystal.
Could be. That could be actually.
I'd probably be going for like maybe a Challenger or a Target or something like that to better with something relatively clean.
Yeah.
And then probably going like something like an EKG.
What do you reckon IBUs on this are?
Oh,
it's got to be 50 plus, right? Like,
yeah. You're gonna
given that this is supposed to be 40. And that's 5%, and this is 5.3.
Yeah, this is definitely better, more better than that.
Perception-wise, I'd say 60.
60 IBU.
Maybe.
Yeah, for sure. But you'd want to make sure you're kind of just balancing out that booger in the right way. What do you reckon the booger is? Like 1?
Oh, 0.8.
1?
0.8, 0.9. Yeah.
I think it's higher than 0.8. I'd be
0.9
to 1 maybe.
0.1. 0.9.
I mean, coming back to the grist, I can't see that there would be a significant amount of crystal in it. But
you taste it.
I feel like there might be something more.
But just taste it. It's not just pale malt. That's what
I'm saying. I feel like
let's get that light crystal thing or something going on in there, or a bit of caramel or something.
I think some caramel or light crystal.
Yeah,
at a relatively low percentage.
You're right.
But probably just that, maybe nothing else.
That touch of kind of brown bread.
Yeah.
Character that I just don't think you'd be getting from a Marisota.
No way. Yeah, there's something a bit more, isn't there?
I wonder if you'd be using a very small amount of much darker crystal rather than a light crystal.
Interesting that you say that. A lot of the because I was talking about the Bengal Lancer beer earlier. A lot of the clone recipes for that suggest dark crystal at a very low percentage rather than like a caramel or something like that. So it's like,
Like
you know,
kinda
extra dark crystal.
80 grams or something in a 23
Yeah,
litre
so it'd be
batch
like,
type.
you know, 2% or something like that. So quite a
Yeah.
low level, maybe 100 grams.
That's what I think this
Yeah.
is. I think it's just giving it that kind of back end
No, I think you're right.
brown
Yeah.
bread note.
Yep. Definite. And then
That'll probably be about it. I think there's not much in the way of kind of, I would say, yeast ester character going on in there.
No.
I think it's very clean in comparison to the Exmoor Gold, which I actually think had a lot more yeast character going on. I think that's a much cleaner yeast. I think you're probably talking about a Nottingham.
even
there.
even USO 5, I
You
think.
could even go
is where
USA
this-
5.
Yeah.
Something super clean. I think, what have I used in the past as sort of an English ale yeast that's very clean? I'll have to give that some thought. I think it might have even been a like discontinued yeast that Lallemand used to make. I think White Labs do a version of it as well. I'd have to look it up. That I've used in a West Coast IPA quite a bit before,
Oh, Chevalier Malt.
but that's a good
jeez.
option. I'd have to look it up, but pretty clean. Something pretty clean.
Do you see Baggers put in the comments suggesting hops for that marmalade thing is first gold Pilgrim Challenger.
Oh, first
EKG.
gold is the great show, actually. That is
Yeah.
definitely a very orangey.
Well, Baggers, add Admiral to your list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pilgrim. I remember using Pilgrim like way back when I was first started brewing. I
Yeah.
did get citrusy. In fact, I think that was almost like a little bit of a grapefruity sort of note on that. You know, in an English grapefruit thrown into the hedge. You know, sort of English hop style. But there was definitely some citrus notes on Pilgrim as well. It's an easy hop combination to use in Bedford because Pilgrim and Progress. Pilgrim's
Which is-
Progress, John Bunyan, for any of the history nerds out there.
We just
That's,
go.
nobody's gonna have any idea what I'm talking about there, but
No,
yeah.
no.
Anyway,
Nobody does check.
No, we lost you there.
Yeah.
No,
We just go for the full Burton water profile, considering how I think the Burton snatch in the nose was so prominent. I think
Yeah,
that
I
300
think that's probably-
ppms.
it's very unusual these days to have a beer where you feel like, I think the water profile is so extreme to one way or the other that it's like an actual flavour component of, you know.
It is
the beer.
interesting. As I've started to go down this, that Burton snatch has started to kind of wash off, and I'm getting more of what you guys were talking about is the marmalade.
Oh yeah,
It's-
I mean
it's
all
dominating.
I've had is marmalade, pretty much. I've had to really dig for that Burton thing.
Oh, it was like really. See, when the first note, it was that metallic sort of sulphury sort of thing I was getting straight at the start. But what you're talking about now, Owens, what I'm now getting is that pure marmalade straight off. So
Yeah, yeah. I was just looking up yeast actually. I think Lallemand do a yeast called London, which to be fair may just be Lallemand's version of Windsor.
right,
I'm not really sure, but essentially the flavour aroma will profile is just neutral. So I think that would be a great yeast to use in this type of beer. It's a pretty neutral. Doesn't need to add a lot.
yeah,
Let the
but
malt and hops do their thing, really.
but it'll whittle down the sugars sort of thing. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, that's it. So that could be a really great option. I think that was the one I was thinking about, and I've actually used that quite a few times in making a West Coast IPA. Because again, it's kind of a slight alternative to using USA 5.
Here's a question: would you actually brew an English IPA Or would you be scared that it would turn out too woody and earthy compared to marmalade? That's my concern, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think as homebrewers, we have been very drawn towards making American styles. We've talked about this in the past. Yeah, American homebrewers are very often very focused on trying to make classic English styles, whilst we're very focused on trying to make classic American styles. And it's all about like kind of recreating the thing that you can't necessarily get at home. And there's some irony in there, obviously.
True.
So I don't know.
I think that's something that extends to the hop kind of production in this country as well, almost, isn't it? It's kind of like, everyone knows what Goldings and Buggles taste like, so we've got to try and make them all taste like American hops. So it's kind of like, I mean, drinking beers like this tonight kind of makes me think like, what? The hops are great. Like, you need to sort of try and really celebrate that. The fact that you can make an amazing golden ale with all English hops, not just the new ones like the traditional varieties, and pushing the hop flavour in Goldings and varieties like that can turn out a really amazing beer. But that's probably getting
I think that demonstrates a level of maturity that you probably didn't have 5 years ago. Or
no, I 100% hear you.
It's all about like, let's get loads of really big American hops into every
need
beer
the newest, biggest, most exciting thing.
And we're still as obsessed with that as we were 5 years ago. But I think at least we can probably respect traditional styles a little bit more and like really enjoy them and understand our own heritage of beer and go, actually, I could. As to
Exmoor Gold. The Exmoor Gold is the standout.
Back to your question, Andy. I say all that. Would I go about making an English IPA?
No.
I'm not sure I would. I'd probably sooner lean towards making a West Coast IPA than I would an English IPA.
And this is super. I'd say this is very West Coast IPA. Apart from the dry hop, I think it was where you nailed it, sort of thing. I think this is
Well, it makes me thoughtful of how similar the English IPA is to the West Coast IPA. They're not actually.
Well, they didn't reinvent the wheel. Do you know what I mean? It was like, okay, well, if we do this with bigger, fruitier, more citrusy hops, what are they going to taste like? Oh wow!
Well,
like
they just basically used what was available to them, right? They were like,
exactly.
They were probably like, let's just make an English IPA with the hops that we have, and then they landed on West Coast IPA.
And
pretty much.
Do a 200-gram dry hop because it's American, so you've got to make it bigger and better than everything else. So
fuck it, why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Go for it.
If you've got an abundance of hops like they have,
well, exactly.
Why wouldn't you say?
The interesting thing is we do now have English hops that are super fruity. So could you use one of the new, Charles Farram hops?
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
You could.
And then you could call it with Chevalier malt, go all out.
You could call it an Atlantic Pale Ale. Oh no, someone's already coined that term.
Did they?
Yeah, don't.
It's a shit beer.
Sharps make an Atlantic Pale Ale.
They're dead now anyway, so
which
don't
is
worry about
shit,
it.
by the way. Don't ever drink that. But you're kind of talking about like it's not mid coast, right? It's like in between America and England. It's a Atlantic Pale.
Cool.
You're quite right. So I would definitely try and make the Exmoor Gold. Really, really, really enjoyed that.
Yes.
Probably not going to rush to buying a Cooper's beer kit. No offence, Australia. Would I make an English IPA? Probably not. Probably sooner make a West Coast IPA.
I'm on the other side of that because, and again, this is kind of through reading the book I mentioned earlier and the fact that it had a Bengal Lancer recipe in it. I was kind of like, oh, I want to like
do that.
try and figure this out and see what we can do with that. Because you can't buy it, so it's kind of like that's a bit of a unicorn beer for me now, where it's like, well, I can't buy that anymore to see if I still like it or whatever. So I want to try and remake it. But it is a scary recipe as well, because I'm like reading the recipe and going, oh, they've dry hopped it with Target, and that's like a proper like gnarly British bittering hop that I've never heard of it being used like late in the boil, let alone as a dry hop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically Goldings, Fuggles, and Target, which is not what I would have expected at all. But fuck it. It's
that does sound like an aggressive trio of hops.
Yes, exactly.
Check, are you going to keg that?
Teddy's asked for the recipe.
I would have thought so, because you wouldn't want to put that in cask, would you?
I mean, I think it'd probably benefit from a little bit more carbonation, so I'd probably be thinking keg.
Is it?
But
I did
really enjoy it when I did have it on cask as well. So back in the day. So I don't know.
The problem with cask is you have to be able to drink.
9, 10. Right, yeah, I see.
You
where
have
you're
to
going
be
with
up
that.
for doing 9-10 pints.
I don't think I'd be hitting, that much of it in a session. It's not an Exmoor Gold where I could easily see myself caning 8 pints of that.
Well, even then you get into trouble because it's 5%, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. But we go for the cask ABV and like drop that down a bit, right?
Yeah. 4.5.
Tricky's an absolute machine. He could do 8 pints of 5% easy.
What's that? What airport are we flying into?
On a podcast.
Maybe. But wait, airport should I fly into check when you do this?
Yeah.
Say again.
What airport? What airport are you picking me up from? Is
it's Munich.
The usual, mate. Just Luton, yeah.
Luton.
Because we're going to watch Tricky drink 10 steins of Munich Helles at 5%.
I think Chicky's due to host his own, so we'll just turn up at his with a cask.
True.
Yeah,
no, he'll supply the beer. We're not turning.
No, hang on. I thought we were doing a hop edition like party at Teddy's campsite, weren't we? That was.
Is that
what
it is?
Campsite? What the fuck?
What? Right, cool.
Debates.
It was mentioned at one point. Sorry, Teddy, I've just thrown you under the bus there.
Much to discuss in the meetup chat on Discord, which alludes me to a very good point. If anyone is listening,
yes, he definitely mentioned it.
Oh, I forgot about that. There he is. Yeah, we got you now. And apparently Mark's got an 8-man tent, so if anyone wants fancy bunking up with Mark, that's
orgy in Mark's tent.
Yeah. Apparently he likes 8 men. Sorry, Mark, that was rude. It's too far. Too far. I'm glad most people listen rather than watch this show.
Yeah, these beers are
that's just for the live viewers.
I just wanted to get a quick shout out to obviously our amazing Patreons. We have such an active and amazing community over on Discord supporting the podcast. It's a great fun chat, tons of knowledge being shared, tons of fun stuff being shared, sometimes some slightly not safe for work, inappropriate things being shared. Thanks, Brett.
Not safe for work.
I'm naming and shaming him mostly, but others are guilty too. But on a serious note, it is a great community which we're growing actively. So if that sounds like something of interest, head on over to Patreon. Come find us at patreon.com/the Hop Edition podcast.
Yep.
And come and join the chat because it is a lot of fun. And I think for anyone that didn't clock that we were the second highest scoring homebrew club at the UK Nationals, which is rapidly becoming one of the most widely recognised global homebrew competitions, is got to say something, right? And I think
that's mad. I know.
People that follow along with this podcast learn an awful lot, and it's amazing and humbling actually to see so many people learn a lot from this podcast. And it's not really just about us. and the knowledge that we share every kind of fortnight when we get together and talk about this stuff, which we've been doing for 6 years or
no,
so.
2020, yeah.
But it's actually really about the community where we're actually learning from one another and amazing people in the chat like Baggers and Brett and you know, a lot of the very seasoned homebrewers in the conversation. So listen, if that sounds like something you dig, come check us out. But otherwise, we are going to be coming to you again on Saturday, 4th of April. We've got a very exciting episode lined up. Yep. We've got a returning guest from Budvar in the shape of Redeem. And we're very excited to be talking about all things Czech lager, in particular.
Decoction.
I want to deep dive decoction mashing, and I want to deep dive some of the more niche Czech styles, so like Czech dark lager, which I've had a stab at making.
You sent us one, didn't you? Yep.
A very good example. To be fair.
A little spoiler alert.
Chocolate lager
that I submitted into Lager Than Life, which is coming up this weekend. So I'd be interested to see how that scores.
Did you put that dark Czech lager into?
I did, yeah.
Right,
and
okay,
interestingly,
cool.
I also put it into the Scottish National, scored a 41 and didn't place.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Absolute shocker.
Well, I'm going tomorrow to LTL, so I'll steal all your prizes on your behalf, if you like.
Thank you, mate. Yeah,
no worries.
Pick them up.
Always there to
pick them
support
up.
you.
Pick them up and post them to me. They'll probably get to me.
Yeah. Post them to
because obviously I'm going to win my category. Then the best of show.
Wait to see,
because it's a fantastic beer. But that aside, I'm really looking forward to seeing Redeem again.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
He seems really up for coming to talk to us about his favourite beer style, which is Czech lager.
Yeah,
so that's going to be really awesome. So whilst I set up the after party, do you guys want to close shop and we'll wrap this bad boy up?
Sweet. Jack,
Yeah.
do you want me to do it or you?
I'll do it. Yeah, sorry. So that is, what episode is it? Episode 136 in the bag. Hopefully you guys have got a little bit of an insight into those styles there. It's an interesting category actually, because
decent beers,
really nice beers. Sparkling ale feels like a bit of a weird outlier in that category though, doesn't it? It's kind of like, where did that come from?
It does feel a bit odd, doesn't it?
Feels like there's an argument for there being like an Antipodean beer category for me. Like you could put that in that, New Zealand Pilsner, and maybe come up with a generic,
I don't know.
But anyway, I'm going off on a rabbit hole there when I'm supposed to be closing the episode down. But thanks for joining us, and those of you that were drinking the beers along with us, hope you enjoyed them. If anyone's got any suggestions for any categories for BJCP drink-alongs you'd like us to do next, do let us know, or in the comments, or tell us on the afters if you are joining us. Other than that,
Imperial Stouts.
Not Imperial Stouts, please. For the love of God.
We could do that.
Other than that, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on, it was April the 4th, wasn't it? Is the next one. April the 4th for the next one.
Easter weekend or something, isn't it?
It will be.
Might be.
Yeah.
Day before Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep.
So bring your Easter eggs, bring your beers. We'll see you on April the 4th. Cheers, guys.
Nice.
Bye-bye. Say goodbye, everyone.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Ta-ta.
So...